Hi everybody, Karen Hurd here, and it's kind of a crazy day today, but I got a little frustrated about something I was reading, and I just thought I'm just going to kind of lay it out there and drop a truth bomb about the Environmental Working Group. I believe in taking care of the environment. I think things get a little extreme sometimes, and it sacrifices people over sometimes really negligible science. And I think the Environmental Working Group is one of those groups that's really guilty of that. In fact, they're coming under fire because their methodology is weak. And how many of you know that they're actually funded by the companies they recommend? What? Yeah, who knew, right? So let me read one criticism from one company that refuses to participate in their rankings. And here's the thing. A lot of internet bloggers and natural health gurus rely on the Environmental Working Group, also known as just EWG, for their recommendations. The problem is those people are relying on EWG having this much knowledge about their methodology. They know this much about ingredient sourcing and how it really works, and they know this much about the science of putting together products. So they're getting great clickbait headlines, but they're giving clients, excuse me, not clients, but they're giving consumers wrong information and really treating people like ping pong balls so that they can get their AdSense money. So I want to read to you what one corporation said. They said, EWG is not the go-to source for the scientific and medical communities regarding the safety or benefit of supplements or personal care products. And if you want me to get you some of these resources, just message me or drop me a comment below, and I'll go ahead and get you what I'm sourcing here myself. This is because they use an assessment protocol of their own invention. What that means is they're making it up. They're not using a basic scientific accepted way to evaluate information. I think that's part of why it's crazy making, right? The standard is something they made up. It's relativistic, actually. That involves only the consideration of ingredients, not ingredients in formulation. In many cases, there's a huge difference because ingredients react differently in context of other ingredients than they do by themselves. For example, some ingredients that are considered harmful turn harmless and inert in formulation, and I'm assuming depending on how that formulation is put together. Additionally, they assess ingredient safety without full information, what they refer to as a data gap. It takes reach to determine safety based on lack of information. And another, in the Journal of Toxicology, EWG puts out this thing called the Dirty Dozen, and a lot of folks rely on that for determining what organic produce to eat or not eat. And look, I really wish we could use less pesticides. I think monoculture is a big problem, and requiring the use of extra pesticides and herbicides, and when they could use a lot of farming techniques like biodiversity, which would be better for the environment, healthier for consumers, and believe it or not, healthier for farmers who are exposed to all these toxins. All right, so there are ways to solve these problems that can be done in a free market way and in a way that's reasonable and scientifically validated. Okay, so it's not an either or. We've got to stay out of these either or black and white things, because a lot of times the answer really is somewhere in the middle. And I got this from Forbes. Now, again, I'll drop me a comment or message me, and I'll get you this information so you can see it for yourself. But in the Journal of Toxicology said that the methodology of the Environmental Working Group is insufficient, and that some of the things they were warning about, the presence was actually negligible. All right? You don't get cancer from eating inorganic strawberries. Now, would it be better to eat organic strawberries? Sure. Would it be? But did you know that in order to get organic certification, some of these farmers have to pay huge sums of money? And that's one reason why organic produce is so expensive. Do you know that there's now a movement that some farmers, and the word natural is vague. I mean, the whole thing is crazy making, and I think that's why consumers go back and forth. And some just flat up give out. And that bothers me because there's some real reasons why we want to be more natural and eat more naturally and do things within being good stewards of the environment, okay? And not, we don't have to go off into environmental craziness. And what's ironic is I know of a company that was the first climate neutral certified company back in 2000 when people weren't really talking about it. But my husband is a journalist. He was one of the first journalists back in the late 90s to talk about global warming fraud and the politicization of science. So I came to this super skeptical. But I also grew up in the 60s, and I remember when I couldn't swim in Lake Erie as a kid because it was that toxic. You know, my mom would say, yeah, you can go to the lake, but you can't get in it. So clearly, right, there's a balance there. So here's the thing about EWG. Take anything they say with a grain of salt about, oh, yay big. Realize that they are funded by the very companies they recommend. Their methodology is weak and insufficient. And so basically, I almost never refer to them as a source of information on consumer product safety. There's better resources available. And that's my rant for today. Thank you for listening. If I can get you this information, I'm so glad. Hi, you guys. I'm glad to see y'all. If I can get you, hey, Russell. Hey, Dylan. Hey, Diana. Hey, Kimberly. Hey, Kirby. If I can get you some information or just put hashtag replay, I'll get that to you. All right. I want us to be informed consumers and do things that are good for ourselves and for the environment, but we don't have to turn ourselves into pretzels to make that happen. Hope that helps. Hope that helps clear up some minds. Take care. Have a great day.